Welcome back. It's only me again. I'm joined by my next guest on the sofa now. Very excited to have a chat here. Joining me is indeed Annie Clements, founder and CEO, that's always a good title, of Autism and ADHD. They provide support for all age groups, both pre and post-diagnosis, and there's an awful lot of support available. Thank you for joining me, Annie.
Thank you for having me.
How have you been finding the day out there and about?
It's great. It's a really lovely vibe out there today, and a lot of young people really looking for some support and help, so that's great.
I bet it's almost quite reassuring to see young people actively looking for this support.
Yes, because they get a bad press, don't they, a lot of the time, that they don't want to do, and they just want to sit at home and play on the games or whatever. But our experience would be quite the reverse. They want to get out there. That's just knowing how to do that. So these events are really important. That's
what it's all about. So tell me about, firstly, yourself and also how you came to found Autism and ADHD provision.
Okay, so I'm Annie Clements. I founded Autism and ADHD about 11 years ago now, but I've been doing support work in this particular community for over 30 years. It all started when my middle son was diagnosed with autism at 2.5. We're now a completely neurodivergent family. All my children, myself and my granddaughters are all in the same boat. So very much living and breathing it on a day-to-day basis. The reason the organisation was founded was because the one-to-one support that I was doing, we realised I was having like rhetorical conversations. The same problems just kept cropping up over and over again. And I was lucky enough to be with the School for Social Entrepreneurs for a year, and they really helped me to unpack how we could make that difference and that social impact. So that's how it all started, really.
I think that's really important. That's amazing. And I love people that you, like yourself, that see a need and then do something about it. We need more of you. We need more Annies out and about. So what is the type of support that you offer, and how does it indeed power the individuals that enter the world of work?
Okay, so we do face-to-face virtual support, all the sort of thing that you would expect really as far as that's concerned. We don't need anyone to have a confirmed diagnosis to be able to access our support, and it's lifespan. So once somebody's with us, they stay with us. We never close down a file like some services are in a position to do, which means that they can have support maybe initially at point of crisis or needing something specific, go away because they're feeling okay. But if they hit another bump in the road, they can just come straight back in and get access that support again. In regards to what we do with those young people around being able to help them get into work, for our community especially, an awful lot of them are really struggling with who they are. They feel perhaps different and scared about making those steps. Our job is to make them feel positive and empowered about who they are and realise that their diagnosis actually brings them a huge amount of skill. It's not all about the things that maybe they find difficult. And once we make things accessible for them, they can achieve whatever they want to do. We also help them understand what type of work, an environment especially, they would thrive in, so that they don't keep going back into the same place and it going wrong, because that's just not helping them move forward at all.
No, I love that. And it's like you say, it's not about the falling down. It's about how many times you get back up again and go for it again. So this is a really important point here. What can employers implement within the workplace to ensure they're able to support apprentices with SEND, and why is it so important to the individual who are completing the apprenticeship?
The biggest thing is accessibility, as you would imagine. We talk about inclusion being a verb and an emotion. We all know what it feels like to feel included and how great that is, but we also know what it feels like to walk into somewhere and not feel included. So it's listening to what those individual needs are for that particular young person coming in on an apprenticeship. We talk a lot with employers about making accessible interview processes, for example. Some of ours actually prefer to be interviewed online rather than go into an office. Some of them might appreciate the questions before the interview, so they've got time to think about giving their best version of themselves. And then moving forward, regular checking-ins, making sure they're okay, and also understanding autism at quite a reasonable level. They don't need to know everything, but they do need to know enough. Not just them, not just the employer, but the whole team needs to know that. And it's about creating an inclusive environment within a workplace, so that if something is said that's a bit controversial or could be implied as being bullying and not very kind, that they do get held up for that, because if not, it creates this culture of difference and that not feeling included, and that's when the apprenticeships will start to fall apart.
I think it's important to focus that each one of those is an individual as well.
Absolutely.
Not all the needs are going to be the same
No,
across the
they're
board.
not.
There's no way that's going to happen. There's a spectrum here of needs and a spectrum of support available as well, which is
Absolutely.
equally as important. So, can you advise some of us on the importance of education to ourselves about neurodivergence and how that indeed supports the individuals?
The importance is because our community is growing. If you look at what we call our neurodivergent bucket, which includes autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia and dyscalculia, we're now about 25% of the population. We're no longer a small group of people. And if we don't continue to make workplaces and the community at large inclusive for us, we're missing out on all of those wonderful skills that we do have. We've all got things in our pockets, our magic phones. They wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the autistic community. And so there's lots that we can offer. And at the moment, nearly 80% of adults with autism have not got a job. 60% of adults with ADHD are struggling to maintain full-time employment because that's not there. So it is about work, but it's about so many other things as well. Leisure centres, shopping precincts, all of those things now need to really consider about what they need to do. And the frustrating thing for us is it's really not that hard. And what's so clever about it is when you make those changes, everybody benefits. It's not just us. So it's important that we start to look at that from an inclusive community as a whole, and really start to take that on board.
I'm very excited to ask you, because I know you had lots spring to mind. What's your favourite success story that you've got?
A young man, I was thinking about this last night actually. It's a young man who came to us probably around sort of 14, 15, really, really struggling in the school environment, couldn't succeed in that space at all, as so many of our children are in that space and young people. So he was at home, not really accessing education at all. He was doing carpentry in his dad's garage. I bought so many bird boxes off him, you would not believe.
So supportive.
Well, you have to go there, don't you? I go home, not another bird.
Yeah, thanks.
But we managed to get him into college. College were amazing, very, very flexible about, he didn't have to be there on time every day. He could come when he was ready to get in the morning. That type of flexibility was really, really important. Mum desperately wanted him to learn carpentry properly, not just how he was doing it in the garage.
Yeah.
We're now a good period on, a good 10, 15 years from when we were in that
wow.
situation. And he's now making bespoke high-end kitchens in Dubai. And that wouldn't have happened if that flexibility hadn't have been there, that an organisation like us wasn't there to help that family through that really difficult time, and just to show him that he had actually got a future, because he really didn't believe that he had at the beginning.
I think that's amazing. And like you say, you're there providing that support network, not just for the individual, which is, top of your priority list, but for the family around them as well.
Absolutely, it's important. Where we diagnose a family, not a child. And it's like a stone that goes into a pond. It then ripples out across everybody that they have a connection with. And it's important that they're all involved in that journey forward.
Completely agree with you, Annie. Thank you so much for joining me today, but also thank you for the amazing work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you're doing, you and the team at Autism and ADHD. It's been great talking to you and hearing more about it. And I hope, like I said, lunch is being served.
Absolutely.
So I will indeed let you go and have a nice, tasty lunch anyway.
Here.
Yeah, thank you again for joining me, Annie.
Thank you.